Hello, this is Bernadette Brady again. We're looking at the first week of teaching for the research module in the MA in Cultural Astronomy and Astrology at Trinity St David's, University of Wales. And the first week is actually topic 2 of the Moodle page. So here we are, you can see it in the background. So this is the beginning of it here. And then we go down. We've looked at already conducting what you need to understand to conduct your research project, and now we can look at the first week of teaching. And the first week of teaching is very much to give you an overview of qualitative research methodologies, looking at the history, looking where they're coming from anthropology, the recent history since the 1980s when it was really discredited as a way of thinking, to now actually qualitative work holding its own in terms of quantitative research and the balance between those two. And so this week really looks at just a general introduction and looks at what you're going to learn in the module. But also on the Moodle page in this week, we've actually got a never-ending list. It's quite organic, this list, of research papers that have used qualitative research work to actually explore some of the things that we'd be looking at in the MA. And qualitative research work is looking at what people believe, what people think, what people feel. And when we look at some of these, like, for example, Shoshana Farah looked at why people consult astrologers, or rather I should say who consults astrologers, who looks at the stars, and makes certain statements based on her qualitative research work, which you as a student could take and duplicate to see if that's supported in your community or another community that you actually look at. Withnow looks at astrology and marginality, and that's building on the work of Adorno, where the only people who accept astrology are those who live in the margins of society, and that's something that could be challenged in contemporary way of life. Brink looks at belief in reincarnation astrology and finds that there is a link between a belief in reincarnation astrology amongst Roman Catholic schoolgirls, and he's surprised at this, and yet if he'd actually only looked at what astrology was teaching, he wouldn't find this to be so amazing. So that's something that can be challenged. Raymond Eve and Dunn look at generally looking at what they call pseudosciences and education, and they link astrology into pseudosciences. So therefore they're making an assumption about what astrology is, and that's something that can be tested or challenged, etc. And then further along here we have Bertrand Russell's comment in 1932 on the nature of astrology. Fascinating stuff, and something that you could build a survey on or a questionnaire and go out and test in the field to say, is Bertrand Russell correct in his assumptions about astrology there? There's an interesting review of Michael Wood's book on the Road to Delphi. He makes wonderful throwaway lines about alternative belief systems such as astrology and so on. And these are phrases that can be taken and shaped into qualitative research. So all of these papers here, and there's a never-ending list of them really, it'll keep growing, are ones that you can actually read. Indeed, you should read them. And they enable you to start to think of ways that you could form a piece of qualitative research and take it out into the field. Finally, we have a paper by Case and Philipson, and indeed you'll meet the author, one of the authors, the co-authors, Gary Philipson. You'll meet, he's part of our teaching team on this MA, and he's a wonderful commentator on the forum that you'll be using. And he put forward a paper along with Case, which was very much talking or linking the concepts of astrology through alchemy and linking them to the Myers-Briggs test, and putting that forward as an interesting paper. So that's something that you could retest for yourself if you wanted to. So this week is very much just looking at the introduction to these different versions of qualitative methodology and getting you enthused to go out and start to create your own research and run it in the field. Okay, bye-bye.